Hi, I'm Randy Patterson, and this is Psychology Salon, a channel about psychological issues. If you like this kind of thing, click subscribe. This is a post about relationship rules, as they are stated and as they are actually carried out. And my focus is on failure to launch, or as I prefer to call it, delayed transition to adulthood. The situation where a young adult has aged out of adolescence and has difficulty seizing the reins of his or her own adulthood. So I think the principle I'm going to talk about applies in many different situations. Maybe I'll do another post on it from the assertiveness point of view. A lot of families feel mystified by what goes on in the home. Their young adult may not be employed or going to school. They may not take care of their own immediate surroundings. They might not do their own laundry or prepare their own meals. They may or may not contribute more generally around the home, handling chores like vacuuming or taking out the garbage or preparing meals for everyone else. They might treat other people in the house well, or there might be a lot of conflict. They might handle their own finances, or they might be dependent on others for money. And parents and other family members are often quite frustrated. When I see family members, they'll often say, "This house has rules, and this one person, he or she, doesn't follow them." And the parents are confused about why that's happening. How is it that this perfectly intelligent offspring of mine doesn't understand the rules of adults living together? Let me give you some examples of the kinds of rules people talk about. I will not loan you money if you do not pay it back. Or if you're going to live here rent-free, you have to be looking for a job. I will cook 5 meals a week. You cook 2 meals a week. You need to do your own laundry. The lawn needs to be cut every 2 weeks. We do not leave our stuff all over the family room. If you borrow the car, you fill it with gas when you bring it back. Put your own dishes in the dishwasher. You have to clean the kitchen after you've used it. You have my credit card number, but it's only for emergencies. And so on. You get the idea. The whole idea of house rules can seem very authoritarian, or like something you do with small children. But it isn't really. When grown adults have housemates, there are always rules and understandings about how things will go. And they're very much like these ones. When I'm working with families, by the way, I'll often encourage them to think of themselves as roommates rather than as parents and children, because usually there are no children. There are 2 people in their 50s and 1 person in his or her 20s. No children anywhere. They are 2 or 3 adults sharing living quarters. And I'll ask them, if that's true, and it is, what would be reasonable to expect of each person living there? Anyway, so parents will often say, "I don't get it. He knows the rules. I've told him over and over and over again, and he still doesn't get it. Why doesn't he understand what the rules are?" Well, it doesn't take therapy training to see where to go with that. If the parents have stated their expectations over and over again, and if their young adult has neurons that actually fire, he or she does know what's been said. If I brought them into the office and said, "What do your parents want from you as part of being in that house?" they're not going to say, don't know. I haven't a clue. They know. Of course they do. In a lot of cases, parents have recited the rules hundreds of times. They know. But there's a more important point. Imagine an alien anthropologist from outer space came down and watched what was actually going on. This alien can't speak English, so they don't hear any of these supposed rules. All they see is what actually happens. And what they see is that when someone leaves their lunch dishes around, one of the older people in the house picks them up and washes them. When the younger one uses the credit card, the older one pays the bill and does not cancel the card. When the one person has a bunch of dirty laundry, someone else comes into their room and puts it in the washing machine. When one person borrows the car and leaves it with a low gas tank, the other one drives to a gas station and fills it up. And there's a lot of grumbling and moaning on the part of the older ones, but that just seems to be part of it. So if we ask this alien, what do you think the rules are for this family? The alien will say, I guess that when this one doesn't fill up the car, that's fine because the other one will do it. And this one's allowed to use the other one's credit card, knowing that the other one will pay it off. And it's okay for you to leave a mess in the kitchen for someone else to clean up. And it's okay not to pay rent because nothing changes if you don't. In other words, this house has two sets of rules. The rules that the parents state and think are in place, and the rules that are actually in place. And they're completely different. Parents will often say, why doesn't my son understand that I will not pay for his video gaming? I've told him enough times. And the answer is because it's not true. The actual rule is he can use your credit card for all the gaming he wants, and you will pay for it. He might have to deal with you complaining about it, but that's just background noise at this point. He's used to it. It's not that he doesn't understand the rules. It's that you don't understand the rules. He understands the rules much better than you do. You think that what you say is the rule. That's not the rule. The rule is what happens, and he's fully aware of that. Why did he make that the rule? He didn't. You did. Actions speak louder than words. The real rules are about what actually happens. Now, you can imagine, at that point, parents are sometimes frustrated. What am I supposed to do? Spank him? And from here, we can go to a discussion of natural outcomes. What if you told your roommate your credit card number, just in case she ran into an emergency situation, let's say, and she started billing takeout meals on your card? You can yell and complain if you want, but that's probably not very effective. Instead, what you would do is you would cancel the card and not give her the new number. What if your roommate used the kitchen and didn't clean it up? You might do a variety of things. You could put the used dishes in a bin and place it outside her door. Or when it's your night to cook, you could say very nicely, I'm all set to cook as soon as the dishes are done. If your loan isn't paid back, you don't loan more money. If the car isn't filled up, you do not hand over the keys for 2 weeks. If someone doesn't do their laundry, nobody does it for them. If you abuse the internet, the password changes. And ideally, all of this is done with no nagging, no yelling, no complaining, no insults. At this point, the alien would see that the rules had changed. This kind of work can really ramp down the amount of fury and conflict in the family, although it can stir it up in the short term. What's happening is that the parents have stopped trying to control their young adult and are controlling themselves instead. So there's no need to control anyone else. If you find yourself in a situation where there's a lot of conflict in a relationship, even if it's not a delayed transition to adulthood, ask yourself, what are your expectations or so-called rules for the relationship? And what would the alien see? What actually happens? So, for example, your 8-year-old is supposed to do her homework before she gets any screen time. Okay, what actually happens? Does she turn on the screen and do that before she does her homework? Then that's the rule. You can have as much screen time as you like, though you may have to listen to mom and dad complaining a bit. That's the actual rule. And if there's a difference, maybe you need to change something. Not something you say, something you do. Now, there are other videos on this channel on the subject of failure to launch or delayed transition to adulthood, and many of these concern parenting. Click the subscribe button for more. For parents who find themselves in this situation, I also have an online course called The Parent Trap, available from my education site here. And for young adults in this situation, having difficulty at that transition into independence, I have a book, How to Be Miserable in Your 20s, 40 Strategies to Fail at Adulting. It may be helpful for you as well. Available from all online booksellers. Thanks for watching.